as I mentioned, I tested different businesses on Flippa and other places. I never really found something that really clicked for me. Really wasn't getting enough traction until I found this one.
Hey guys, I am Ben Weiss, and this is Humans of Flippa. I'm joined today by a gentleman named Jay. He's coming to me from Hawaii, beautiful Aloha land. I recently sold a fascinating site on Flippa, all about tattoos, but we're going to talk to him a bit and just learn who's the man behind the listing. So, hey Jay, how you going?
Hey, Ben, good to see you.
You as well. I always like to start it off. There's so many different people on Flippa. I'd love to know a little bit about your background. I feel like you definitely came from a different place than a lot of people in the digital world. So if you want to just kind of touch on who you are and where you come from, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I guess the abbreviated version is that I was a tattoo artist. I was in art school, transferred into business school, and so I started doing marketing and things for the tattoo studios. Started trying to figure out how I could be in two places at once in terms of still make money from my art and still attend business school. So started venturing in the online realm, getting into digital marketing and stuff like that. And eventually stumbled across Flippa. I actually tried a couple of different businesses and sites I purchased on Flippa. Some didn't work out, some did. I think it was mostly on my failing, trying to just chase the cash versus my values as early entrepreneurs do before stumbling across the one I ended up picking up on Flippa.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a bit about that. I guess you're a true flipper, I suppose we'd say, because you bought, grow, and sell, right? That's like the three phases. So what attracted you to that site in the first place? I know it was kind of about tattooing, but what ultimately made you say this is a good deal, this is what I want to get started with?
Yeah, I think it was the niche specifically. I've done everything from I had an agency. I was doing marketing for tattoo studios. I was doing e-commerce, drop shipping, like all that kind of stuff, and testing out different markets and industries. But once this one came up, it's really rare to have the sort of crossover between marketing and online business and tattooing, a very old school traditional type business. So once I saw it pop up, it was originally just the domain and maybe a few videos and a couple of emails when I picked it up. But it was just a perfect market fit, fit my interests. So took a chance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. And I've been hearing, I talk to people for Humans Flippa or for other things all the time. And I've been hearing so much more that, following something that you're actually passionate about is incredibly important. Because there's a lot of people who know how to just, kind of do all their keyword research and figure out how you can just crush it through SEO with this weird niche that no one's touching. But
Right.
it does seem like when you take a hobby and you turn it into a business, you can find the most success. And it seems like that's what you did, because it makes you happy to do it every day, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I kind of grew out of it. Unfortunately, that's why I ended up selling it, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, I think it's 100%. I do a lot of consulting work now, and it's people coming in like, oh, I found this one market, or I found this one niche. I'm going to crush it because search results say this, and but you're not inspired by it. Like once you hit that first obstacle, you're going to hit that dead end and give up or get taken over by somebody who is passionate about it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the other thing, and people who watch any of my videos, I say it all the time, like there's no such thing as a passive business, right? So it's like,
100%.
you like to think it, and yeah, maybe eventually it becomes like kind of passive and you can build it to a point where it's, making money and you're not doing a ton of work, but it takes a lot to get there. And if you have to sit there and write articles about something you absolutely don't care about, and as you were saying, the second you hit that first obstacle and you're like, oh man, this is going to be like 3 days of work. You're like, I don't want to touch this. I'm
Forget
done.
it.
I'm done. I give up. It's not worth anything.
Yep.
Somebody else. That's cool. What do you have any kind of key things that you did to your site that sort of drove the value that you saw okay, there's a gap here that I could really work on and make this worth more money?
Yeah, I think in general, as I mentioned, tattooing is a very traditional niche, a very old school kind of cutthroat. Like there's still that element of bikers and pirates and kind of aggressive lifestyle. And it's really, really taboo to teach tattooing, to teach the secrets of tattooing, which is, of course, the big foundation of this business. Um, so there was a massive market of people wanting to learn how to tattoo, and then the other side is people wanting to keep people out of tattooing, whether in person or online. So there's a massive gap there. So I think that the opportunity was just willing to be the voice or the face of the business, putting yourself out there, putting my 10 years of experience kind of on the line, to kind of fill that and bridge that gap. Getting all the hate emails and all the the hate letters and things like that, to support these people who are passionate about learning how to tattooing and have no other avenue to sort of take that journey.
That's so funny. I never would have thought. I mean, I don't have any tattoos. I wouldn't realize just like how these guys want to like keep it offline and traditional. And like, I mean, I guess it's, it's a true, very old art form. So it makes sense in one way, but that is intriguing to me. So I'm curious, like the guy that took it over, I know you made a nice little chunk of change and flipped it for a good value. Is he in from the tattoo world as well, or did he see this as just a niche that he could profit on? How'd that work?
No, 100%. Yeah, and I don't see myself as a flipper per se. It's more of I intended to keep this business for quite some time,
Yeah.
but I started growing dispassionate about it, and it was relatively passive. Of course, things would break, and I have to come in and fix it. But I found myself not wanting to show up, not wanting to do the work to keep it growing. Um, when you find yourself browsing Reddit 4 hours a day and not wanting to work on your business, something's broken, right?
Yeah.
So I made the somewhat difficult choice to give up the somewhat passive income and sell it to someone who could actually grow it into the next level. So yeah, when I bought it, what was it, roughly 5 years ago or so, um, I was passionate about it and put all the energy and work into it, and had the opportunity to take my marketing experience into it. And the guy that I bought the site from gave me a bit of a marketing crash course, a stack of books to read. I was in marketing school and had mentors there. And this was sort of like the testing lab to test all these theories and ideas about marketing and business. And the guy that bought it, it was the same way that I bought it, which is really weird. Um, as I mentioned, I tested different businesses on Flippa and other places, and never really found something that really clicked for me. Really wasn't getting enough traction, until I found this one. And it sort of came up out of the blue. I sort of given up on finding a business and growing something else, until I found this business. In the same way, the guy who purchased it, he'd been looking for, I think he said 6, 7, maybe even 8 months or so, trying different businesses out, interviewing people, doing background checks or due diligence, I guess it's called. And nothing was really working for him. And he'd given up. And then he got an email from you guys, advertising my business for sale. And he's like, it's so crazy. Yeah. And so he reached out, and I think he's 4 or 5 years younger than I am. He's in the exact same spot, coincidentally, that I
Huh.
was.
Yeah.
He's a former tattoo artist who's been doing digital marketing to grow his tattoo shops, doing some consulting on the side. So it's sort of like handing it off to a younger version of like exactly where I was. But since the business has a bit more traction, he's going to blow it up. It's going to be massive. I had
Oh,
a few larger offers, like cash offers from flippers and from larger corporate entities, but I was so much happier to take a lower price for it, to give it to someone who's actually passionate about tattooing and will actually take the students through the process they need to go through.
yeah, absolutely. I love that, because I talk to people about that quite often, is that, you're not just selling a product, like you're not selling a book or a t-shirt, you're selling a business that I guess you purchased this, but for the last 5 years, it's been something that you created. It's something that you've really developed. And you want to see it thrive. Like, I feel like
Hmm.
one part of you would like, as much as you'd be pissed off if all of a sudden this is like a, $25 billion business, you'd still at least be like, oh, all right, well, I kind of created that, that's my $25
Hmm.
billion business that, maybe I'll hit up that guy and he'll give me $5 one day.
Right, right.
But it truly is kind of like a partnership. You're not just like letting it go. And you did work with this guy up until just a few days ago, right? Like kind of helping him transition,
Yeah, 100%.
steps. And that's
Yeah.
clearly cool. So, what do you know if he has any crazy ideas, or does he just kind of take this kind of as is and just steadily grow it? Any notes there?
No, he does. Yeah. So I actually had a running list of my to do list, my future to do list. I was planning on implementing, but for me, the business was all about nailing down my systems, my frameworks, my processes. It was just me. The entire business was just me. Occasionally, I would reach out and do a freelancer here and there to maybe try and write a blog article or edit a couple of videos, something like that. But the whole idea here was to keep it passive and keep it systemized, so I could just focus on the clients and the students, and of course traveling to develop the material itself. But I had all these people I reached out to, other organizations, to grow the business, to do an actual physical goods side of it. I passed that along and walked them through all of them, made introductions. So yeah, they've got a good start on blowing it up for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it leads me to wonder what's next for you. Are you just focusing back on being a tattoo artist? Are you staying in the digital game? What's going on?
No, I haven't tattooed in quite some time now. It's more about making content and tattooing just to teach the students. No, even then, like people were seeing how I was sort of traveling so much and how I was just me behind this business and reaching out from other masterminds and groups like that, asking how I was doing this, right? So they're like making the frameworks and doing some sort of consulting and coaching on the side. And I'm much more inspired to do that now. As I mentioned, haven't worked in a tattoo shop in quite a while. I'm no longer inspired to talk about tattooing. So while the inspiring part of me that kept me in the business for so long was seeing the transformation and people actually achieving like what they deem an impossible feat of becoming a licensed professional tattoo artist. But that sort of ends right there. Like I could help them achieve this transformation. It's good for them and their life and possibly their family, but that's where it sort of stops. Still inspiring, but when I started helping people who were running coaching, consulting practices, able to accelerate their business using these frameworks that I sort of designed using the tattooing model, it's able to reach not only them and their family and their business specifically, but it sort of has this ripple effect into the framework implementing their business, which they can then accelerate their clients' businesses, sort of like ripples on down the road. So I'm definitely going to go 100% all in on that, on just consulting and chasing that feeling of causing these sort of ripples to kind of echo out, I guess you could say.
That's fantastic. Just helping the world. It is cool how you can kind of just work with a couple people and see that just drastically affect everyone around you. I like that.
100%, yeah.
It's really cool. So any tips? I don't want to give away your lifestyle coaching there, but any tips you would give to another young entrepreneur who's looking to kind of acquire something?
Yeah, I think as we touched on first, primary focus is finding out who you are and what your values are. That's that's first and foremost, and then finding a way to sort of monetize what's true for you. Um, I mean, it's sort of difficult to find out on your own. So finding someone who's already sort of blazed a path ahead of you is always a fantastic start. I had lots of mentors in, as I mentioned, business school, and seeking outside after that to kind of help me find my path and implement and build these frameworks in the first place. But yeah, finding your values. And number two is keeping it super simple. I made the mistake, as I'm sure we all do, of just complicating not just business, but it kind of ripples out into life in general, right? Like I could do Twitter and YouTube and like start doing SEO and start doing physical goods and doing all these different things, but you need to find out what the number one thing that's going to be driving revenue in the business that still keeps you fulfilled and satisfied and inspired every day to show up and do the work, and just focusing on that transformation for the client that you're, as cheesy as it sounds, like called to serve, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. So I'm curious. I always like to end these conversations with the same question. You're such an interesting guy, growing up in the tattoo world, living on a beautiful island. Simple question with a hard answer, but what does your perfect day look like?
Um, well, I guess it depends if we're in a pandemic or not.
Just,
Yeah.
in the perfect life, perfect day, maybe it's 5 years from now. Like, what do you want to wake up to? How do you want your days to be?
Okay. Yeah. I think we've had a bit of a taste of that in the past. It's that freedom, but not like a freedom as you would sort of imagine being like hanging out, lazing on the beach, right? It's more about waking up and sort of like chasing that purpose, chasing that feeling of what you're so-called pulled to do, right? I've tried the passive model where you just sort of like collect income and hang out. It's very depressing very quickly. So it's waking up and chasing that inspired purpose. So I think, yeah, waking up and sort of building, creating, whether it's working with consulting clients one on one, designing programs for the same market, and it's having a long lunch, exploring the world, and sort of getting inspiration and insight from different disciplines. Breaking out of like, I like to say, like if you're stuck in like one market for too long, you start just becoming like a reflection of what's already there, and it gets diluted really really quickly. So you need to be going out and interacting with different disciplines, different environments, different places, different people, and bringing that into the business that you're currently working on. So a combination of freedom of business and then just traveling, I think is it.
That's amazing. I love that. Um, I like it. I hear a lot. The interesting thing that I get from pretty much everyone I've talked to is that no one says that their perfect day is, as you were saying, just sitting around. It's all about kind of creating and doing, and of course having some free time to enjoy yourself. But I haven't
Right.
talked to a single person who says, "I just want to lay on the beach."
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the fantasy that draws you in sometimes, but then once you get a taste of it, you're like, this is it, and it's pretty depressing. It's pretty shallow.
Yep, it gets old. It gets old.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great stuff, man. Thank you so much. Obviously, I've been following the process of your sale for a while now, and I was excited to see it go for a great value for both you and the guy that picked it up. And I'm excited to see. I'm sure you're really excited to see where he takes it. So maybe we'll be back talking again in 5 years when it's a $10 million business, and who knows. So thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
sounds good. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Of course. Cheers.